Panther people, what up? We watched the new blueprint building the roster. I'll let you know what surprised me the most. When I watch Panthers Post, thanks for joining. Your boy is on parental leave. That means I'm off work for a month, so I'll be creating Panthers content at least every other day and trying to do every single day. And I didn't have to stretch very long to try to work something out. The Panthers blessing us with a timeline of a new blueprint building the roster. And, if you're following Panthers Post, which you should, if you're not, subscribe, spread the word, hit the noti, all that stuff. And also, if you're following all the other Panthers content creators out there, you have known about the new free agent pickups. Obviously, we know about the draft that's highly publicized. But, if you're following all the Panthers content creators out there outside of the team itself, we broke down the Tersh Wharton pickups, the Bobby Browns, the Patrick Jones the thirds, the Trayvon Moore. We broke all those down. But the Panthers just did it with a nice bow, nice production value, actual one-on-one interviews with the players, behind the scenes stuff, all that. So it was just nice. Thought it was quite interesting that they didn't mention the, I guess, the reported fumbling of that defensive tackle from the Philadelphia Eagles who ended up going to the New England Patriots. I forget his name because it was painful at the time, because Panthers literally were Charlie Brown when Lucy pulled the football away from him right when he was about to field goal kick it, and he lands on the back of his head. That were Panther fans, whether it was poor reporting, whatever it was, they thought they were getting this player. We all thought that. They thought he was going to be great, partnering up with Derek Brown. Not happening. And then it seemed like at the time they were kind of scrambling and they picked up these dudes. Now, they didn't even mention that. They very much made it look like, almost from the get-go, they wanted Tersh Wharton out of Kansas City. Obviously, Brent Tillis has, won multiple championships with him. Bobby Brown, they were seen talking about him at the combine as if, someone they've been talking about for a while. Dave Canales goes to Dan Morgan and it's like, Bobby Brown. I think he'd be great. I think he'd be perfect. Jones, same deal. Rose Bloom, the linebacker, he got his own little, he was almost handpicked by Dan Morgan, who is obviously one of the better linebackers in Carolina Panthers history, still holds record for most tackles in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And it just seems like these guys were laser focused and on these dudes. Now, whether they were laser focused because they didn't get that marquee player who paying him, like $130 million more than Derek Brown, it just made it seem like, what, these are the guys we wanted. You could have read whatever reports you wanted back in the day, a couple months ago, but these were the guys we wanted. And we have a specific need for them, specific needs, specific place. We have a plan for all these dudes. And I thought that was good. And again, you got to say the way it is. This is made by the Panthers, it's produced by the Panthers, so it is kind of propaganda in a way. They want us to get hype. They want us to believe that this team is great. We could look back. I'm not going to do it. It's too painful, but they did the same deal with the Frank Reich stuff, definitely with the Matt Rule stuff, trying to get people all hype. But this does feel different. Like it's not just sizzle with steak. Like the steak is well done, well seasoned. It is AAA. It is grass fed. These things are from Japan. Like this is a Wagyu type steak, and that's what it feels like. These are quality players. These aren't just role players, and that's kind of the hole we fell into last year. Yours truly. I'm not gonna lie. Like I thought losing Brian Burns. I thought that they're gonna fill him in with dudes who knew the Ejiro Evero system. And then as a collective, they'll be a better defense than they were before that. Losing Dante Jackson, losing Brian Burns. See what you want about Dante Jackson, but he was good when he had to be good. He was also bad when he had to be bad, but still. It just didn't work out in terms of the defense just last year. Obviously, injuries played a part into it. Derek Brown losing him after week 1 was massive. But thinking that you can just fill holes with scheme guys on defense and not just pure dogs, and dogs with championship pedigree, with elite talent and size and strength, big people move small people type qualities, is just not going to pan out. And when you heard Dan Morgan and guys talk, it just made so much sense the way they rationalized their plans for the offseason this year. They talked about building the guards last year, before that, Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt. And then this year, again, winning in the trenches. We figured out the offensive stuff. Now we kind of know who our quarterback is. Now let's work on this defense. And you got to get dudes up front. You got to get mean. And he played with dudes like that in the Super Bowl when he was playing with the Panthers. That is Dan Morgan. it makes a linebacker's job and everybody's job so much easier if the defensive line are just dudes who are willing to get dirty, beat you up, and kind of have a couple screws loose, which I think is a thing with Bobby Brown. Like the dude loves wrestling. I could see him doing that postseason, post career. He just seems kind of wacky. He seems a little wacky. Now, Tersh Wharton could also kind of seem kind of wacky as well. A wacky guy with gigantic legs and calves, as they talked about specifically. But just laser focused on, yes, the players, but like we need to get the defensive line figured out. We can't get run up on every single game. Uh, no disrespect, Rico Dowdle, I didn't know who he was until he played the Carolina Panthers and rushed for 100, 200 yards. Like it, that's a problem. And I'm sure he chirped about that and he will chirp about that during training camp. Um, but just the laser focus on trying to figure that out, like getting Bobby Brown to go with Derek Brown, and then eventually, then in the draft, Cam Jackson picking him up, the massive rookie out of Florida, and then then you got Patrick Jones III, who seems like a great dude, grew up with a great family. He is going to be a threat on the outside linebacker part, defensive end. And then, of course, Tersh Wharton as well, who's going to be a factor, massive factor in this team. He's going to be a massive voice, massive leader on this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he was voted as a captain after training camp. And then, oh yeah, I forgot Prince Umamilin and then Nick Scorton. Like this defensive line is going to be a problem with what they did, and it started in free agency, and it seemed like that was just he like Dan Morgan does not seem like a guy who gets lackadaisical. He look at his damn eyes for gosh sakes. He was laser focused on fixing that defensive line. He took it personal how bad it was last year. And again, adding Derek Brown is almost like getting another free agent. And so I love that. I loved just how common sense it was. They weren't trying to get cute. He was just doing meat and potatoes type stuff like they did the offseason before. And then also Trayvon Morig working on that, talking about how smart he is. He just seems like another quarterback on the field. Seems like a little bit more vocal than JC Horn, who they continue to give the spotlight to as they should. He's a leader on this team. He's a captain on this team. I think he's only going to get better as long as he stays healthy. Guy's gonna be an All-Pro every single year. But Trayvon Moore just seems like the quarterback on the team on the defensive end in the backfield. Just his communication skills and just his playmaking ability. I think he's exactly what this team needs. They just need to bolster that more, and we talked about that last episode. Check that out if you want. But yeah, I just thought it really made you feel good about the defense. It was good to see Ejiro Evero in the episode a lot more. Obviously, it just wasn't not obvious. I thought it'd be obvious to have him in the draft episode because they had so many dudes. He wasn't even in the draft room, I think, for round one or round two. Maybe they knew they were going to be getting, Ted McMillan so early that he didn't need to be in the room. Maybe he had another engagement, but I thought it was odd that Avera was not in the draft room in episode one, but you can see that he's in the lab. He's got the hood on. He's got the Bill Belichick impersonation going on. He's saying, "What's up?" to Tersh Wharton, just thinking about the schemes and how they're going to use them. But just nice hearing him talk about how they're going to all use all these guys, having Tersh specifically talking to all the positional coaches. And one thing I thought that was pretty cool with Wharton when he was talking to Dan Morgan in the draft room, talking about how he liked the quarterback in Bryce Young. And talk about when Kansas City Chiefs came to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Won in overtime, the Chiefs did, but probably should have been the Panthers, who I'm pretty sure that was the game when Adam Thielen had both feet in the back of the end zone, ruled not a touchdown, should have been a touchdown, could have been a completely different game. But Tersh Warren was talking about how, that QB's nice in terms of Bryce Young, kind of got eyes in the back of his head. And I thought that was interesting because who plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, who is a continuous playmaker, who has revolutionized the position. Everyone wants to be like this guy. Arm angles, literally redefine the term arm angle. Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying Bryce Young is Patrick Mahomes, but this is a defensive guy who practices against 15 every single day. They go, 11 on 11 against this dude, and he gets to watch him up close and personal every single week from the sidelines. And he didn't say Bryce Young is Patrick Mahomes, but the qualities that he was delving out and praising to Dan Morgan are the things that make Patrick Mahomes so great. Playmaking ability, eyes in the back of his head. He's nice. That's just a good way of saying that he's talented. And again, why else would he want to come to this team? Yes, they're paying him a lot of money, but he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to get paid a lot of money and want to get made fun of by his boys back in Kansas City, joining a trash team with a trash quarterback. What were you doing? It's like going to What's a team with actually no quarterback situation right now? I guess you could almost say the Jets and Justin Fields, like, or the Saints. The Saints. Like, if you're a free agent and you get paid big money and you're going to the Saints, like, your friends probably asking you, "What are you doing?" Yes, get the bag, do what you got to do. Average NFL career is 3 years, but you are literally putting your life and well-being on the line against a team with no quarterback. And we don't know if Arch Manning's coming in the draft next year, maybe the year after that. So you're going to maybe potentially put 2 years of your health and well-being on the line for a team that's got no quarterback. So Wharton doesn't seem like a dumb guy. I think he sees something promising in Bryce Young. He's like, this guy could take us to the next level. So I just loved hearing that, especially from a defensive guy, because they're not going to bullshit you. And I thought that was great. So adding him was awesome. I did not expect Rosebloom to get as much love. Obviously, it's again team propaganda. They want to prop up all their free agents, but the linebacker out of the Los Angeles Rams, again, I don't know if these conversations were staged. They knew they were being filmed, but the way they talked about this guy, like he's going to be like a significant contributor in the linebacker spot. Hey, I'll take it. Like we haven't had like a long-haired white crazy linebacker ever, really. And long, I don't know. I don't think we need one. We need a Clay Matthews. We need that just for the vibes. And I think if he can be a regular contributor, not just a special teams guy, and not just like a specialty team type player, like a certain package linebacker, hey, why not? I think that'd be great. Um, so yeah, that's good. Rico Dowdle, just the way they describe him, like that specifically, got me so fired up because played running back up into university. Then I realized I suck. But the way Dave Canales talked about how he runs angry, he's smart, he's a great route runner, he can catch the ball, and he was told by other coaches like, hey, like during the draft process when he was with Tampa, like you got to really look at this Rico Dowdle guy, like try to pick him up, bring him to Florida. Um, and the fact that they keep an eye on him this whole time, and then now he did amazing things in Dallas, and the way he talked about now we have two 1,000-yard rushers in the backfield. It makes him the play caller who has talked about before. Like they're a run first team, and it was tough to do when it was just Chuba Hubbard. Like just Chuba Hubbard. Miles Sanders had his moments, specifically in the last game of the year, but he feels and you can't kill Chuba. Like you can't. He's just one man. But now you got two guys who have proven in the NFL you can rush for 1,000 yards, and against this offensive line, which is only going to get better with more experience with each other, you got two guys who are just going to batter defenses. Maybe they're going to flip the script. Now we're going to run on other teams instead of them doing it against us. And then Dave Canales talks about how just having these two guys in his arsenal is just going to encourage him and make him feel even more comfortable to call more run plays and set things up and slow the game down and control the clock and make Bryce Young's job easier. Guys are going to get open because they're going to stack the box and stop these two beasts like Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. I think by the end of the year, we're going to realize that they're going to be probably one of the best running back duos in the league. If not, they're going to be like your favorite running back's favorite running back duo. So I can't wait for that. Like that got me specifically fired up. Which brings me to Dave Canales. I talk about how Ejiro Evero wasn't featured that much in episode one. Neither was the head coach. Like especially during the draft room, like he was basically there just kind of giving the check mark. Like he tells the GM and Brent tells us what he wants. They get him the players, check mark. That's it. And but in this one, you know, and again, the draft is kind of Dan Morgan's thing. That's Brent Tillis' thing. That's the scouts thing. Like that's their Super Bowl, besides the Super Bowl itself. But Dave Canales, this one, way more of him in it, talking to players, bringing them in, doing that whole like Pete Carroll 2.0 thing. And I think just him addressing the team, having more command, more commitment, more confidence is standing in front of all these dudes heading into this season. I just felt more confident in him. Like last year, it's kind of like, he's kind of pretty. He wears skinny track jeans. He wears ankle socks. And, he kind of wears the same thing over and over again. Super nice, but like, how nice? Like, is he too nice to command room? Like, are people going to take him seriously? But just take a look at the free agents that they picked up. They know who the head coach is. They know who the quarterback is. And they feel confident making this decision. Again, I know they're getting paid a lot of money. But the way this guy is commanding the team during the offseason strikes me as a dude who has learned a couple things, and um, he just doesn't look like a deer in the headlights, but he kind of did at times in this first year, which is understandable. I also got to say, dude's been hitting the gym hard. Like he's not doing 5 milligrams of creatine. He's doing like 25 milligrams of creatine every single day. I don't know if he does legs, but golly, I don't think that man owns a large shirt. It's schmedium all the way. I don't even think they sell some of those shirts. He looks yoked out of his mind. I'm surprised we haven't seen him do more demonstrations on the field because that is something Pete Carroll would throw the ball routinely with players, just play catch. And I have not seen Dave Callis do that, which is surprising because he's maybe one of the most athletic coaches in the National Football League. But the man looks jacked, jacked, and does he actually looks more awake than he did last year. And I think he knows what's coming this time around. He knows what to expect. He knows the pressure's on. I think he knows the pressure's on to see what happens with Bryce and to catapult this team because he must hear the hype. Because he doesn't strike me as a guy who avoids media. I think he reads it, and I think he takes the good and the bad with a grain of salt because he really feels like a guy who is adamant on what he believes in. And if you don't, doesn't matter. If you do, that's great. But I think he thinks he's on a mission and he's laser focused on achieving that. And I would not doubt that guy. Like if you saw that dude in the gym and he told you, "Hey, you're doing that wrong," I'd be like, I'm going to listen to you. So I I feel more encouraged about him. And then also hearing about their rationale, about the defensive free agents they picked up, I feel really damn good. And it is early July, and I need it to be September right now. Let me know what you guys thought about Blueprint building the roster. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. See you guys literally in just a couple hours.